Ladies and gentlemen, I want to go back to my previous video that was published on the last press briefing, cabinet press briefing that the JLP government had. And I must comment, I'm sorry I don't remember your name right now, but I must commend you for commenting that the cabinet press briefing has been going on for some time, and you send me a link where I can go back to find all of them. I really appreciate that. But I must also admit that I had an idea. I knew before that there were cabinet press briefings going on before. But the point I was making about this one is the point that I mentioned in the video, that I do believe that a lot of people overlook this important thing. Because I remember clearly the Jamaica government, the Jamaica Labour Party government campaigning on transparency in the previous prime ministerial election, or government, we call it government election, general election. And I was heartened to see not just one thing happening here, but two things. The use of technology and the sign that the government, and for me, the clear indication on the part of the government that they're making a right step in the direction of becoming transparent with the people they seek. They campaigned and seek to govern on their behalf, to publicly administrate to the benefit of the people. And one of the things, as the Prime Minister said in his previous campaign speech, transparency is important. Margolin also talked about transparency on the PMP side. So I was happy to point that out. And that's the main thing that came out of that issue for me. That thing, when I sat watching it, technology and transparency are the two T's that came to my mind right away. So I made the video on it, and it was well supported. Thanks to everyone who chimed in on it and all of that. And I'm gonna try my best to, put out videos that's very more appealing to the mind, because I know people love to see good things and hear good things. And one of the things that we are trying to do, what we do in Jamaica, is what I'm going to speak about now. Coming out of that cabinet press briefing, the third thing that I walked away with it, why do we continue to discuss our politics the way we do it? And I want to start off this video by saying, why do we continue to discuss our politics not from a point of contention, but from that of division? Mark you this clear, politics is contentious. It's adversarial in nature. But we choose to discuss politics from a divisive perspective, not from that of a point of contention, but from a point of division. We divide the PMP over there, JLP over here. It is funny that we all rally around our culture, such as the music, the sports, art and culture, artful performances, dances, our cuisine, fashion, name it, beliefs, practices, the norms. Yet we fail to discuss our politics in a framework of peaceful contention. We fail to discuss our politics in a framework of peaceful contention, but chooses rather to discuss such within the parameters of political party divisiveness. We do not choose to discuss our politics in peaceful contention, but we choose to do it in political party divisiveness, which becomes bitter. How much has this divisiveness cost us? and how far as it sets us back as a nation, and in our effort to see politics through the prism of our elected leaders' effective performances, government to government. How many lives will it cost us before we wake up to understand that politics is not umbilically tied to a specific nor any one party? Let me repeat this important point. How long will it take us to wake up and realize and understand that politics is not umbilically tied to a specific or any one party? How much more of this biopolitical ineptness should we continue to bear, and for how long? A biopolitical ineptness means how much more of this PMP JLP political ineptness should we continue to bear, and for how long? These are the things that I have on my mind. Irrespective of which side of the political divide we are, how long before we all realize that the party in government needs the support of us the people, and that we are the only true checks and balance against an inept and corrupt government, irrespective of which party is in power? How long will we realize these things? Or we continue to feed in the divisiveness of politics? How long will it be before we realize that the division that exists in our political support, ideology, and the ever-increasing political hunger for power is destroying the nation's chances of achieving a consistent yearly socio-economic growth and development? A lot of us who are out there feeding into the divisiveness doesn't seem to understand how it negatively impacts our chances, our country's chances of achieving consistent yearly socio-economic growth and development that will better the quality of life for Jamaicans all over. Even you who think you're a PMP and the PMP is better than the JLP, or the JLP supporter who think the JLP is better than the PMP. It is impacting all of our lives. How long before we realize that since 1938 to 1943, a time when both the JLP and the PMP was formed, not in the order of how I mentioned the party, because the PMP was before the JLP, were created, our politics is always on a hill and gully ride. How long before we realize that since 1938 to 1943, a time when both JLP and PMP were created, our politics is always on a hill and gully ride? How long will it take us to realize these things? How long before the reality hits home to us? The divisiveness has for years negatively impacted our politics, and that we the people are the only victims. We ourselves who feed into it are the victims. That's the way the politicians want it, to keep us divided. We become the victims. How long before we stand up to say to our elected public administrators, enough is enough, no more division? How long will we stand up to them and say no more, enough is enough? How long it's going to take us? What more suffering can we bring upon ourselves? Can we force upon ourselves before we realize how far back against the wall, how far against the wall should our backs be before we stand up to say enough is enough of this divisiveness? We are one people, one nation. Our politics is tied to no specific political party, as I said before. It is all about the support of the entire nation, irrespective of which party is in power. Again, our politics is tied to no specific political party. It is all about the support of the entire nation, irrespective of which party is in power. How long before we begin to see peace benefit from our politics and political leaders or administrators' performance? Benefits that brings expanding opportunities and an improved quality of life for all Jamaicans. How long before we begin to see peace benefits from our politics and political leaders or political administrators' performances? Benefits. I'm talking about benefits that brings expanding opportunities and an improved quality of life for all Jamaicans. Jamaican people, how long? Let me ask you the question. And ask yourself the question if you get this far in this video, how long? Like, share, and subscribe if you haven't done so already. We need to grow this. The Prime Minister and one in his recent cabinet press briefing talks about common sense, and the common sense most of all doesn't make sense. But common sense makes sense, Mr. Prime Minister, maybe not at your level, but at the grassroots level. That's all the grassroots has to rely on. Common sense. Let me throw that in. People of Jamaica, how long? How long before we rise up and say something? It is us that should decide who gets what, where, when, why, and how. And not the rules, nor the framework, nor the culture of political divisiveness or political division, however you want to look at it. It shouldn't be. It should not be. Politics should be about the governance of everyone. We all should be benefiting from the government, from governance. And in this time, Jamaican, I'm making this appeal. I'm doing this very late in the night. What time is it now? I think it's about 1 a.m. right now. It is. And I'm appealing to all Jamaicans. It is time. We check ourselves before we continue to wreck ourselves any further, much more worse than we have done so far. The divisiveness that is rooted in our politics is eating away at our very chance for any substantial, consistent socio-economic growth on a yearly basis. From 1938, when the PMP was formed, to 1943, when the JLP was created also. Ever since we became self-governed in 1962, and right up from 38 to 62, 24 years later, when we get self-government, and up right through to today, our politics is on a hill and gully ride. Ladies and gentlemen, how long? How long before we say enough is enough? Welcome once again to the Lenny Robbins YouTube channel. Know your politics. Let's come together to create a better understanding for each other by watching what our politicians do and say. We here at the Watch What They Do channel will continue to fulfill our mission and our vision to watch what they do and what they say. Jamaica, blessed love to you all, wherever you are, home and abroad. The divisiveness is not just crime alone, stifling economic growth and investment. Divisiveness in our politics. And I must praise Mr. Andrew Willis once again for taking the step and I hope you continue it, sir. I hope that just is not, I hope you continue. I'm bringing different groups and different people from all over. Not just people who are favorable to Jamaica Labour Party, but people who are not favorable to you, to bring them in, for them to get a feel of the environment in which the discussion is taking place, and then for them to ask questions to their satisfaction. Not only supporters or people who are favorable to the government or invest in the government should be given the chance, but even those who are speaking out against the government, speaking out against the government, should be given the chance to say, Mr. Prime Minister, this is so, that is so, and that is so. What do you say? Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. Like, share, leave your comment, and I welcome you all to subscribe. And for those established subscribers, continue to support. It's worthwhile, it's helpful, and we do truly, in the most profoundest way, appreciate your support. Ladies and gentlemen, Len Robbins, watch what they do. Over and out.